today's topics, I want to talk about management by walking around and why we ever did this. Can we still do this today? Because management by walking around is really the basis of my talk today and building the IT Command and Control Center, because it's all about virtually walking around. So let's start off with, why did we ever manage by walking around? And active management, or management by walking around, was devised by Hewlett and Packard, and it was originally conceived as a morale booster, and they were nerds by training, so they studied the effects. So let's take a look at some of the data that they collected. And because they originally intended this as a morale booster, they of course measured morale. And they looked at the frequency. What was the morale improvement the more frequent we walked around? So we never did it, morale was low. But wait a minute, now the more the managers walked around and interacted with the staff and the teams, morale improved, up to a point. So too much of a good thing is a bad thing. So if you met with the people every single day or multiple times a day, morale started to drop. So enough, stop, it's too much. But they also measured other things. What was people's focus and their time on task? And it seems like time on task continued to focus. And part of this may be the Hawthorne Effect, that people know that they're being watched, they're being paid attention to, and they tend to stay more focused on task. Well, what happened overall from performance? Performance also improved greatly, dramatically, I would even say. So performance becomes increasingly standard as expectations are communicated and reinforced more often. But a big effect that also happened was from the managers themselves. So originally conceived again as morale booster, had all kind of side effects here, including on the managers themselves. So what they saw was that managers who more frequently engaged their teams, they were becoming better managers. They were reevaluating decisions and reprioritizing risks and issues earlier. They would be able to be more proactive and less reactive. And so that these managers are in the loop, they're gaining multiple perspectives all the time. Well, can we still manage by walking around today? And one thing remains true. Projects must succeed. And let's just take a look at some notable projects. We're going to go through these in a little bit of detail. We're going to talk about a project from Bank of America, one from Oxford Health, and then the third one, US Air. Now, the Standish Group reports that roughly 2 out of 3 IT projects are considered failures. So either total failures, never happens, never gets implemented, or perhaps cost overruns, time overruns, or doesn't deliver the requisite functionality. So let's quickly look at some of these notable examples, because I think it's important to understand some of the failures if we're going to prevent them, or we're going to put a Command and Control Center in place to address these failures and prevent these failures. Well, Bank of America, they had weekly project reviews. Team leads were addressing this. They had good estimate versus actuals, and they finished their development ahead of time. But things didn't go all that well for them. They wind up losing $2.6 billion in trust accounts when migrating to a new enterprise system. So in February 1988, hardware problems caused them to lose control of these billions of dollars in the trust accounts. Now, eventually they found the money, but because of investor loss of trust, the people pulled out. And all 255 people, the entire trust department, they were fired as the depositors withdrew their money. Bank of America eventually spent $60 million to fix the $20 million project before eventually trying to abandon it altogether. They fell from being the largest bank in the world to number 29. So it doesn't just have IT implications, but what was at the heart of it? Well, there were test cases, particularly for load, were missing. Major, very important project. It was a surprise to management, but not to development. So the project lacked visibility. It lacked control, and certainly there was no optimization of it because they didn't know what was going on, truly going on. What if those managers were able to walk around? What if they were able to find out the information? Would something different have happened than a total failure with very, very cataclysmic results in the business? Another one, Oxford Health, 96. They delivered a new pulse processing system on time. It was a Big Bang style move. Took place on New Year's. Financial Times labeled automated billing a breakthrough success. This was wonderful. Well, it was short-lived. Their plan shares fall 62% when they realize that automated billing has a 15-month backlog. So how did they go from we're on time, we're meeting our objectives, we roll out a new system, and all of a sudden we're 15 months behind? When word gets out, shares fall. And when subpoenaed, the staff from all 4 development teams indicate that they had no confidence the system could manage the load. But they were never asked. What a shame that was, that you had these people who knew what was going on and their voices had no way to be heard. Again, lacking the visibility, lacking the control, and no opportunity to optimize that project. A more recent one, US Air. The implementation teams report successful installation overnight. New booking system, 100% U.S. sites. Overnight, on March 4th, the U.S. Airways and America West computer reservation system merged. And U.S. Airways previously used the Sabre system. They now rolled out this new Quick system. It was fantastic. Biggest success ever. But the reason it's in this webinar is it was short-lived. They wind up experiencing over 1,200 delayed or canceled flights, the most since 9/11, not counting volcanic ash. Maybe some of you were stranded as a result of this, for you travelers. When he appeared at the hearing that followed, the head of resources and infrastructure said, "No one ever asked me about the moves." Again, lacking visibility, control, optimization. There's people that knew. We never talked to them. Now, in our own company, in Computer Aid, we pride ourselves on delivering projects on time at a fixed price. And based upon our track record, our estimating methodology, we have a very strong track record. But eventually, a project came along for us. It was managed to the letter, but we found out close to delivery time that we had problems. Our subject matter experts were aware of the situation, but our project manager just didn't have access to them. So we were beginning to make mistakes, and we needed to get a communications, visibility, and enforcement system in place. And we looked towards management by walking around to give us that visibility, to put us in touch so our managers can make the informed decisions, so we can touch base with the people that know what is going on. Well, did this ever happen to you? Have you ever been surprised by something of significance, like some of our examples? Or perhaps received inconsistent information, been told everything is okay, only to find out later otherwise? And maybe a number of you folks on the webinar here today are chuckling because maybe you've been told that, or maybe you've told others. And it's just human nature. We're optimists by nature, and we want to say things are going well, but how do you really know that you're going to be successful? Because those surprises, minor or major, like the few examples we went through, there's not anything that somebody wants to go through. Well, imagine, if you will, for a moment, what if you knew what was in need of attention, and if you could apply the knowledge of your best people. So there's many lessons learned out there. Boy, Charlie knows this. Sue knows this. We've been through this before. They've been through it before. Why do we have to make the mistakes that Charlie and Sue made? Why can't we learn? Why can't we take the knowledge from those best people and apply it going forward? And what if all our activities were visible in a central repository? I didn't have to go chase them down. They were there available for me for review, so we can make informed decisions. And if we had